Hello, I'm Nova SC. I'm going to bring you this Protoss versus Terran on Dead Being LE because it demonstrates really nicely how to deal with those really early marine all-ins where you have about 2 or 3 units as a Protoss player and your opponent seems to have 4 or 5 times more than that, and it seems almost impossible at some situations. So let's bring up the names actually. Here is the evil villain JTX, and I'm Nova, the hero person, in the top left hand corner. Though these are just ordinary games, they're viable strategies going for these sort of all-ins, in a way. I mean, it can win, so that makes it viable in my eyes. So I'm going to be going for just quite a simple, standard gateway expand, so I thought that would make it a really good example to show you. Anyone who really wants some help with dealing with these sort of bushes. So it looks so innocent to begin with, doesn't it? Such an innocent 10 depot that he's made. No one knows, apart from him, what's going to come of this. And the way I actually intend to deal with this is just fairly normal. I'm going to go in basically for a ordinary mid-game build, just sort of in a different order, so that it deals with the Marines pretty good, sort of. So you get your splash damage out really fast. So here we are, here's his build. 2 barracks, so this looks fairly normal actually if I were to scout this, which I'm not actually doing so far, but these 2 barracks, if I scouted this would look just like a 2 barracks expand sort of thing, except with the barracks first so that you could put some pressure on maybe, that sort of thing. But here's the hidden piece of this puzzle, which actually gives away that it's a bit of an all-in. Lots of barracks making Marines at the same time. He's rounding them to the front. That's going to kill off any probe. That's even going to hide the fact that he hasn't got an expansion, which is really nice. Here comes my probe. That's just to see which location he's in, because I'm, as I said, going for a normal 1 gate expands. I'm going to make some stalkers. Mothership core. I usually make just 2. If I know that I'm not going to do any damage, then I'll cancel the second one usually. But in this case, I've moved in and I see 5 Marines. Now that's quite a lot considering if your opponent's gone for a normal expand build, one command center, well, obviously 1 command center, command center before barracks or anything like that, and the first Marine is going to pop about like just after 4 minutes, I'd say. So considering he has so many Marines just after 4 minutes, 40 seconds being quite a bit after 4 minutes, but you see what I mean. Seeing that many Marines means that he's definitely going to go for some aggression. So, second Stalker is out, and I'm even going to make a 3rd Stalker, which I wouldn't normally do. Mismarkering the Stalker because I keep forgetting about line of sight blockers because I'm absolutely hilariously silly. Expansion has gone down, and no need to cancel that, so if I cancel that, he's sort of already won. What we're going to go for here is to get into the mid-game with taking minimal damage. We're going to make just our normal mid-game units, and that's going to be enough to defend this sort of push. The first step of the first piece of this solving puzzle, I've used puzzle analogy before, but let's continue with that. I've got my stalkers here at the front. Now it's really important to keep these stalkers here and the mothership core back unless you're absolutely completely confident that you're not going to lose the mothership core or require a recall from it, because you need that mothership core there to use photon overcharge and keep your bases alive and delay the attack from your opponent. It's really important to delay your opponent's attack because Protoss gets so much stronger into the mid game with their Colossus tech, whatever tech you choose. So that's what you're going to need to reliably defend these Marines. So Stalkers, Mothership core, they're going to be keeping your opponent's army back. These 2 Stalkers here and the 3rd one following is going to be kiting that as much as possible. The reason behind that is because, as you've already seen early on, when there's a very small number of Marines, they just can't even move up because there's a long distance between where they are here and your probes. In that time, the amount of kiting that's going to go on is going to just kill off the Marines straight up. And there's a benefit even if there's a large number of units. Stalker's just going to weaken the army so that you can deal with it more easily with Photon Overcharge and the other units you have back at home. So either way, no matter how big the army is, as long as you can kite with those Stalkers, you really need to do it. It just delays the attack. It does a lot of good. So here comes my extra Stalker. He's moving in, being a bit aggressive here. Gonna kite as much as possible, killing off a few more Marines. I've killed 1, just 2, I think? No, just 1 Marine so far. That's fine. But they're all a bit damaged. There's another one. That's nice. That's nice. retreating back to those line of sight blockers again. He's just going to be building up a lot of Marines. Now I've seen this a lot. It's sort of a characteristic sort of all in. What he's going to be doing is just building up as many Marines as possible before he misses his window, and then just bring all of his SCVs and just all in and push in and kill me. So now he has a whole 5 barracks, which he can afford on one base with muling and such. So this is really devastating. This is going to be a really devastating attack coming from him. So I'm going to need either a lot of gateway units, so Zealot, Stalkers, Sentries, probably a high number of Stalkers are going to help out a lot more here. Or we can do what I'm going to do, and is a bit less common, I don't see it as much, is we can go for a robotics facility, which is just the normal sort of build we're going to be doing even if we didn't see these Marines at our front. And then we're going to go for Colossus really fast, and we're not going to make any other units really. And the Photon Overcharge, these Stalkers are going to delay the incoming push, as I've reiterated a few times. We're going to get enough time for us to get that Colossus out. And there's no real need for that Colossus to die once you get them out, because 6 range on the Colossus versus the 5 range of the Marines. You don't even need extended thermal lance, their range upgrade, because that's going to be more than enough to deal with the Marines which are coming here. Warp Gate research, that was deprioritized. Stalkers are much more important over than getting the Warp Gate, and the Mothership Core is even more important than getting the Stalkers, because you need that Photon Overcharge. Really important extra seconds that you're going to be getting from the Photon Overcharge. And here come the boys! Lots of Marines, a silly number of Marines actually. Call those Marines, oh my god. That's almost 24 Marines. And 3 extra coming in here. You're just going to keep rallying them. With mules, he's going to be able to keep rallying from those barracks as well. So this is a really devastating push coming. I'm just going to have to retreat. What I have here is nowhere near enough to deal with this many Marines and SCVs. So I'm just going to have to sit on this Mothership Core, on this base, and retreat all of my probes. So what I'm doing here, retreating all of my probes, because it'd be really nice to get a confirmation on this with a probe scout here. But he is on one base, I'm fairly sure of it. Which means I don't really need to hold this to keep ahead in his economy. And I know, I just seen that he's pulled all of his SCVs, so I'm way ahead in economy at this point. As long as I maintain this base, which is trivially easy as long as I don't make any huge mistakes, then I'm in a fine situation here. So I Photon Overcharge here, retreat all my probes. These probes could be sniped by Marines coming around the back here, so I don't really want to risk that. And my opponent doesn't really want to risk any of their units to take out this Nexus, which isn't actually mining, so that's going to delay him a lot. The one thing he could do, which I'm really scared of, is him ignoring this and going straight up my ramp and then killing my base here and all the probes. So that's his win condition. That would win him the game. So what I'm going to be doing, oops, sorry about that, is I'm going to be making a sentry here, and that's going to be able to mine that ramp. So he does have the potential to destroy that, but it's not really worth it at the moment. He just needs to roll over me in one go. Robotics Bay has finished here. I'm going for a Forge. Just as I said before, we're setting up for the mid-game here, so a Forge will be really helpful for defense, and then it's going to allow us to get a +1 upgrade really fast after the attack is finished, which means there's very little chance of him coming back in the mid-game. Colossus are being produced here. The range isn't really as important as the Colossus, so if you have to choose between them, definitely go for the Colossus every time, and Chrono Boost out the Colossus. It's not really that important getting the range, because it's 5 range on the Marines versus 6 range on the Colossus. As long as you have Sentries, you have Zealots, it's going to be absolutely fine dealing with those. Another Photon Overcharge. This is the benefit of not losing your Mothership Core or using any recalls. Cannon coming in at the front. Don't go over the top of cannons, because if you build, say, 10 cannons, for example, extreme example of course, but it illustrates what I'm trying to tell you here. If you build that many cannons, then your opponent can just retreat. He's forced you out a lot of money, and it will allow him to possibly come back in the game, especially if he has actually taken a natural. So you don't want to go over the top building defensive structures. You just want a little bit of extra buffer if you insist. And yeah, other than that, just build what you'd normally be building in the mid-game, so that being Colossus, upgrades, Twilight Council, just the bare minimum to defend. You just want Colossus and a bit of a buffer for the Colossus. because Colossus are good against everything here. Sentries proving to be invaluable, keeping the Marines away from the Colossus. And all that splash damage is absolutely key. You've just gotten the most important part of your mid-game composition for dealing with Marines before the rest of the parts of your mid-game composition, so you haven't screwed yourself over, you haven't deviated too much from your plan, your mid-game plan, but you have reduced enough in time to deal with the Marines, and that is game, and he just leaves. So yes, +1 being researched, I could quickly get range after this. Lots of Colossus, sitting on my, almost got my third one there, and even got cannons to prepare for drops and things. I bought it's here somewhere, an observer somewhere, there it is, an observer. I built that before the Colossus, so that keeps me really nice and safe against Widow mine proxies and things. He could have mined 100 gas, it would be a bit silly, but it's possible. It's already an all-in, so anything's really possible. It doesn't have to be good, it could happen. That's what you have to worry about. You could have built something here, floated it over, right out of the mine, and that would have been really damn annoying, so having an observer there, nice and quick, really helpful. And furthermore, observer is what you'd normally be building if it was a normal game, so that's just setting you up for the mid-game even more. So yes, I hope you enjoyed that and you helped that, and that helps you, sorry. I'll see you later, goodbye.